All right, we're talking with comedian Greg Warren, who's got a new special out on YouTube right now, The Champ. Check it out. It's absolutely free to watch. Greg, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good to talk to you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you did this special, The Champ, and then the one previous, The Salesman, through Nate Bargatze's production company.
Yeah.
And how did you hook up with that?
Well, I've known Nate for a while, and then he, a couple years ago, he decided he wanted to, kind of grow the Nate Land brand and make a bunch of stuff that people could watch with their families. And right around that time, I was kind of on my way to finishing up what became The Salesman, and the production company that I was working with partner with Nate on some stuff. And they were like, "Hey, Greg Warren's got this thing." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I like Greg." And it worked out. Nate helped me make it better, and had not a lot of advice, but a few little things that he said that I should do, and it really worked out. And he's a generous guy, and he's having a pretty great moment right now. So it's a good guy to be in business with.
Yeah, definitely. So you're a clean comic. You don't swear. I mean, you don't need to really, but did you start out that way, or is that something you said, maybe I should do this to reach a wider audience?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. I was never filthy. Maybe early on I was ridiculous, but like when you start out. But I was profane, and I got less and less profane. But up until maybe 8 or 9 years ago, it was sort of a part of what I did. And then I got some advice from a guy that ran a record label and then ran Sirius XM. Was like, "Hey man, you're real close to being like all the way clean. You should make that move." And I was like, "Really?" And I did, and I think in retrospect, narrowing the field a little bit made the language a little more precise and made me funnier. It just worked for me. That doesn't mean that I think that's the only comedy that's funny. Like there's
of course
a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends are filthy, and I think they're hilarious. But the nice thing is people can watch it with their kids or their grandma, and I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's as much like kind of family viewing type stuff that goes on, but I think that's kind of a cool thing. I get a lot of people like, "Yeah, man, my 13-year-old and I watched this together. Can I bring him to the comedy club?" I'm like, "No, you can't bring him to a comedy club."
Now you're giving parenting advice. Jeez,
what are you, a terrible parent? Nice. But I actually, there are plenty of venues that I do where you can bring kids. It's pretty fun to meet some of these kids, and you can just tell like, "Oh, this kid's really funny."
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to, like I was told when I was interviewing for a job once, and the guy was listening to my tape, and he was just like, you don't need to do blue. Unless it's part of your character, part of like who you are, or
Yeah.
But I mean, if the jokes are funny, they're funny, whether you swear or not.
Yeah, there's guys that are, like I said, like one of my favorite things is people come and be like, "Well, I just think that it's you have to be smarter. It doesn't take. It's not that hard to write the dirty material." I'm like, some of it, but look, you go try and write what Dave Attell writes. He's a genius.
Yeah. Right.
And he happens to be dirty, but he's a genius. You can't. Like so I don't totally agree with that. But for me, yeah, it's just it's worked out really well for me. I'm glad I kind of was like cornered into doing that.
To me personally, with that kind of stuff, I don't even notice it. What I notice when I'm watching a comedian is, am I laughing? Is he funny?
Yeah.
So that's really what it is. It comes down.
That's what I hope. Anytime like a publicist or a manager is like, "Hey, I got this little bio out, or I got this blurb that says clean comedian," I'm like, please take that off. Like that's not what they'll figure it out, or hopefully they won't. They'll just be like, "I laughed and nobody was offended." So yeah,
exactly. Now you went to West Point. Did you graduate West Point?
Absolutely not. I was what they called in the Army a quitter.
Okay.
I did go the first year. I made it through plebe year and I left.
Okay.
But I didn't think it was probably the best place for me. It was hard to leave, man, because I had made it through the hardest year, and I'd made some really close friends, and I was a kid. I felt like I was letting down my country, and now as an adult, I've realizes I've let down all kinds of people. So it's it's not as big of a deal. So
I would imagine West Point is not a great environment to cultivate a stand-up comedy career.
It's funny, maybe in some ways it's the perfect environment because I think like sort of stress and adversity, I
true.
definitely, like you have that thing where it's like so miserable that you have to find laughter somewhere. And I do remember like doing impressions of the upperclassmen and stuff and making my classmates laugh. So that probably is part of it. But behind closed doors, there's not really an outlet for it.
Right.
In formation. The Army does have a sense of humor, though. It's like it's like that gallows humor, but they definitely have a sense of humor. One of my favorite things is I was standing at attention one day, which you're in formation 4 times a day, and you just stand at attention. You have to look straight ahead, and they come around and they ask you a bunch of questions. And you're supposed to be looking straight ahead. You're supposed to not look around. And I was, of course, looking around, and this just guy came up behind me and goes, "You looking to buy this place, Warren?" which I thought was hilarious.
Jesus. I mean, I would imagine, that if being in an environment like that and trying to be funny, that would probably make any tough room a little lighter if you think about it.
Yeah.
And then you also spent some time, and I say this out of ignorance, but you also spent some time selling Jif peanut butter and Pringles. And first of all, Jif's my favorite peanut butter ever. And
I'm glad to hear that.
And
man.
Pringles is like, it's like a pint of ice cream. If you take the top off, you might as well throw it away because I'm going through the whole can. And
there you go.
So I would imagine, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that didn't sound like a hard job to me.
Well, it's sort of ignorant on your part, man. I mean, you sound like my dad.
Okay.
It's what do they need you for? Since I've been around, I mean, it's not about like whether they carry it or not. It's how much do they sell? I mean, what's the grocery store up there? Is it Hannaford or?
Yeah, we got Hannaford's. Yeah.
So Hannaford's. It's not about whether Hannaford's carries Jif as a brand. It's like Jif sold 1 million cases last year. You got to sell 1 million too this year, and that's not easy. All right.
Okay.
And, you go up against guys like Skippy and Peter Pan. See how you do. These are tough competitors, and some of them a little unscrupulous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a constant battle for shelf space. There's new items coming in that some of them are garbage, and I had to fight every day to get that. So I don't care for your comment, to be honest with you.
Well, maybe I'm just projecting it upon myself because if you came up to me and said, "Hey, I'll sell you this," if you came up to me on the street and said, "Hey, I'll sell you this jar of Jif for $10," I probably would think about it for 2 seconds and be like, "Yeah, because I'm an easy sell." But
you're making me sound like I'm out on the street selling Jif, man. This was major business. We're selling truckloads, cases. I'm not a Girl Scout. I wasn't going door to door with this stuff.
Okay. I'm just saying, peanut butter, especially Jif. I mean, everybody loves it. It's like toilet paper. Everybody needs it. Everybody has it in their house. But I apologize.
Another fine product that the Procter and Gamble company sold was Starman.
Oh, there you go. Very nice. Very nice. I don't know if you've run into TJ Miller, another comedian, in your travels, or if you know him at all. But
I've met him once, and I'm not sure there's too many funnier comedic actors. I mean, the stuff that he did in Silicon Valley, I found myself laughing hysterically. And he, I think he has his own brand of peanut butter.
I was going to ask you about that, since you are kind of, someone who's been in the business. Like, have you ever thought about putting out your own peanut butter brand?
Well, no. I mean, definitely no, because there's only one Jif, man. I'm not going to go up against,
Well, no, you could be like a specialty item. His peanut butter has some of it has coconut in it, or crispy strawberry or whatever. You could have the Champ peanut butter and
man. Again, and listen, I like TJ, but there's one peanut butter in my mind. Okay, there's just one, and it's Jif, and I don't really care.
Are you still on the payroll?
No, man, I'm not. But it's called loyalty.
Okay.
Okay. you know the Marines. You know they say like
I've heard of them.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yes.
Yeah, those guys, they fought the enemy for like 4 years. I fought against Skippy for 10. So it sticks with you is what I'm trying to say.
And I know that little jerk Peter Pan doesn't play fair. He'll shank you if you have your back turned.
Yeah. There's some stuff. I don't want to get into it. There's some
I
stuff
understand.
Those guys
I understand.
It's some dirtbag sales tactics.
Yeah. Well, that'll all come out in the book later on.
I mean, I'm also not that guy. I'm not a tell-all. There's some stuff that happened behind the pale. That I'm not gonna get into, man. I think I'm probably bound still by some confidentiality agreement.
Okay. I won't push it. I will tell you this: when I did my last interview with T.J. Miller, we were talking about his peanut butter. He threatened my life because I simply brought up Goober, which I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
Now, as a peanut butter expert, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
As a comedian, I cannot speak about Goober because the genius Brian Regan tackled that subject a long time ago, and there's really nothing to be said on Goober that Brian hasn't said. Right. Yeah, I got too much respect for that guy.
That's awesome. Okay, all right. So I appreciate you not threatening me like T.J. Miller did.
No, man, that's the thing. And again, I'm a fan of TJ's. The Jif brand, we don't need to resort to threats or any of that kind of thing. We stand behind our product. That's all.
Right. Yeah. That's all. You let the peanut butter do the talking.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Right. And then finally, before I let you go, in high school, you were part of the school band. Is that correct?
Yeah. First chair clarinet.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a pretty big accomplishment. I mean, it's a big section. There's 20 to 25 clarinet players. It's a big deal. Like, if somebody's like my daughter is first chair oboe, well, who cares, man? Like there's 2 oboe players in the whole school, and one of them doesn't know which end of the horn to blow in. So let's not get.
Is there? I'm sorry if I offend you again during this interview, but is there a?
I'm not sure you are.
I'm genuinely sorry, and I'll just let me just ask: is there a nerdier instrument than the clarinet besides the oboe? Because that's kind of big and awkward. But is there anything nerdier than a clarinet?
Well, for me to answer this question, it implies that the clarinet is indeed nerdy. It's, in my opinion, it's a sexy instrument. It's a flashy instrument. So there's nothing nerdy about it, But if I play your little game and say, that is there, there's like 17. Okay, yeah. I mean, who do you want to date? The first chair clarinet player or the bassoon player? So let's not. Yeah, let's. None of what you're saying holds up.
Well, I gotta say, you put it up against someone who's playing the drums or a saxophone, which is very sexy.
Saxophone, extremely sexy, very popular. As far as like the sexy appeal, I think Kenny G set him back a little bit, to be honest with you. And I like G. I'm a big G fan.
I disagree with you there. I think he elevated it to the next level of sexiness. People that didn't think before.
That's a worthwhile debate for another time.
All right. Well, next interview we'll do this. All right. Well, Greg Warren, the new special is called The Champ. He touches on some of these subjects which I've offended him on in this interview, and you can see The Champ on YouTube. Greg, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it, and good luck.
Yeah, enjoyed talking with you, man. Thanks a lot.